Hello beautiful people, I'm RaishPhoenix, and in today's video we're going to be doing gesture drawings, and I'm going to be sharing tips on how I improved as an artist and what helped me the most. Starting off, I'm going to be using the site Line of Action. It's actually my first time using this website. It allows you to choose a gender, whether you want a nude or a clothed model, as well as age and how long, like the duration of each photo you want to use. I actually found this site really helpful. I use it maybe like 2 or 3 times after I filmed this video, and I didn't have a repeat of images, so that was pretty nice to see that it seems like they have a large amount of photos to reference. And then on top of that, I usually use reference.sketchdaily.net. I've been using that site for a couple of years now. It helped to kind of diversify the images that I usually look at because I don't want to get used to drawing the same positions and the same body types all the time. So really liked using Line of Action. Moving on to sketches, I'm starting off with 30 seconds. With this, my main goal is to focus on the motion of the body. Make sure that I'm capturing to the best of my ability the accuracy of each limb. So I'm thinking about the length of the arms, the length of the legs, the torso, the head. I'm focusing on those particular areas. If I were to use a curved line to capture the motion and general direction of that body, how would I simplify that? And how would I get the most accuracy to the length of each body part? In this stage, it's really just breaking it down to like the core, I guess, what's the best way? Like the core movement of what I'm seeing and how I decide to interpret it. Using exaggeration in the areas that I feel would really help with maybe like pushing a hip out forward, or to really show and capture the mood or the emotion that's in a specific pose. There's actually a video from Proko that I had watched here on YouTube that helped me a ton with getting better with gesture drawing, and I'm actually going to link it in the description. At this point, I believe that I moved on to 2-minute sketches. I'm doing everything that I previously said, so I'm drawing the lines based off of if they were in the center of that particular body part. I'm not thinking about the inside of the arm or the outside of the arm. If I was to draw a line right in the center of the arm, how would I do that, or where would I position it on the paper? Plus trying my best again to get proportions, although this is a part that I do mess up a little bit, just the proportions part of it. And then from there, I'm gonna start carving out it's not really a carving out, it's more so simplifying the mass of the body into a shape. My focus here is to kind of think like, what is the thickness of the upper portion of the arm? What is the thickness of the leg? What is the thickness of the torso? And using shapes to kind of just capture that. I'm not focusing on contour, I'm not focusing on muscles. You know, for the arm, as you can see in the seated pose, I could have focused on the deltoid up top. I could have maybe carved out more of the bicep, but that's not my goal. My goal is to really capture the motion and the emotion in the pose. Moving on to the tips that I wanted to share about what helped me the most this year. I feel like most of the time when I hear tips on how to improve, it's focused on very specific things like, okay, draw every day, or, you know, take the time to learn different muscles. And although I do believe that that plays a huge part, because yes, you do have to study these things to get a better understanding of them, I think it's very important as an artist to understand yourself. what makes you what I'm gonna call sponge mode super effective. And when I say that, I mean, how do you learn best? Do you learn best by reading? Do you learn best by visuals? Do you learn best by a combination of those things? I think it's very important to understand first, what is the best way for you to absorb information? Because when you take that into consideration, it'll help you with your approach of figuring out what you want to improve on as an artist. I think that it's like the starting point of getting better is, I think, really just knowing what it is that you don't understand. Like, what is it that is difficult? Is it the perspective of a particular body part or a pose? Is it the muscles that you don't understand? Is it the bones? I think that there has to be a level of reflection of what is it specifically that you start noticing, like you're drawing and everything's moving fluid, but then you get to that one point you're like, I don't know what to do. Like, I think that is very telling for those areas that we need to work on, because if it's a color palette, if it's the muscles, if it's the bone structure, it's pretty much your process communicating to yourself, what is it that I'm not quite getting here, and what is it that I can do based off of how I learned best to improve this area of my process as an artist. For myself, I noticed that my canvas plays a very big part in my ability to just draw. I've been mostly working in portrait mode or on scales where it's a very narrow sheet and I don't have that much room, and I noticed that it would affect my ability to capture anatomy accurately because I was more focused on fitting what I was drawing into the scale as opposed to focusing on really carving out both sides equally. It's like I would incorrectly, well, not incorrectly, it's not incorrect in terms of where I was starting the drawing, but it would be to a particular side too much. And the way that would affect my drawing is that now I'm starting to create like these foreshortened areas that I'm not supposed to, like it's not accurate to what I'm referencing or even what I want to draw. And I realized that I work best in landscape mode, or if I'm working on a paper that is more of a boxy shape, it gives me more room to kind of just draw what I need to draw. So the size of the canvas has played a huge part in me becoming a better artist, because now I have more room to create and I'm not condensing and foreshortening my drawing in areas that it was never supposed to be doing that. Another thing that I realize is that I have a habit of, whenever I start my drawing at the head, I always draw the head a little bit bigger to scale than it should be for the body. I blame anime because I love anime, and as you guys know, in most anime, the head is a larger scale than the body, and I think that maybe because I've watched anime, it's been a very big influential part of just my inspiration behind drawing, that's played a scale and played a big part in my ability to scale the head correctly. So most of these drawings, you'll see that I start at the torso or the base of the neck, and that has helped me a ton with making sure that I start in an area that kind of plays I don't know, I guess it's kind of like the center of the drawing for me, because it's like you have the torso and then the limbs are connected. You know, you can draw the arms from there, draw the legs, and then from there, after I get the arms and legs down, that's when I'll fit in the neck and the head, because it'll help me to get those areas more accurate, and I'll also be able to see in scale how they relate to the rest of the body. I've started to pay more attention to my drawing than the reference. In the past, I used to be so caught up in getting accuracy to the drawing, to the reference, getting accuracy to the reference, in the sense that whenever my drawing would start to stray, or if I would start to notice, you know, I don't think I drew the eye exactly in the right shape, or I didn't draw the face exactly in the right shape. Because of those things, I would kind of fight with myself, because I would see this part and I would erase it, rework it, erase it, rework it, and then it would just turn into this habit of sticking in the same spot of my drawing and not really progressing to the other parts. Now that I've incorporated gesture drawing, it's given me the ability to kind of trust kind of more of a motion, trust exaggeration, figuring out more of the drawing, like learning to get to know my drawing more as opposed to the reference, because when I'm working from the perspective of getting to know my drawing, I'm looking at it for what it's becoming as opposed to what I expect it to be or what I wanted it to be based off of the picture. And I think that there's this part of just letting go of, you know, having an intention. Like the intention, it's good to have intention. Of course, you want to have something that you want to look forward to at the end product of your work. But for me in particular, in my artistic journey, I realized that I was holding so tightly to the way that I wanted the reference to look close to my drawing, that it's like I was prioritizing the reference almost more than my drawing. And once I decided to let go, my work grew. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll actually see that I've been working on a blue series, and I've been drawing different, mostly singers and recording artists who have been wearing blue or have blue lighting around them. What's helped me grow the most, like you can see it in my work. Like if you looked at my previous work and you look at the work I'm doing now, I'm playing around more with textures, with lighting. I've given myself the room to just experiment. somehow over the years, I have gotten to a point where I was just so focused on, I have to get the lighting right, I have to get the color palette right, I have to get this facial feature right. It became more about accuracy than it became about experimentation and just being an artist and creating. Now that I've let go of that and I've kind of been like, all right, well, this drawing is going to be what it's going to be and I'm gonna let it do it, you know, that's helped me grow a ton. Another big part of that is understanding like what keeps you going as an artist, what inspires you. And in the beginning of this year, I definitely dived deeper into watching different artists create. Artists who their work kind of embodies more of what I'm trying to do with my own work. Like whether I think this particular artist is great with color palettes, whether I think they're great with capturing a specific composition and backgrounds and stuff like that. I think that seeing artists do those things helps a ton with being like, oh, I never thought of that. Like there's so many artists who I've seen using the lasso tool. I don't even think about the lasso tool, but do I use it now? Absolutely. I use it absolutely now because it's just, I think just, it's one thing to be taught things, but it's another thing to actually see how people utilize specific tools that are accessible to you in different programs. And then you start thinking of other ways to capture whatever it is that you're working towards in your drawing. That's helped me a ton with just watching other artists. I've also noticed that when I'm watching different animes or different movies, I love seeing the color palettes. Like, I don't know if I've said this in a previous video, but Marvel movies, I love the color palettes that they use for different environments. Like, just, like, it looks amazing. And then with anime, I love Demon Slayer. If you've seen my Mitsuri cosplay, you know. Again, follow me on Instagram. It is linked in the description box, my socials. Just follow me there and you'll see what I'm talking about. But I love Demon Slayer, and the color palettes in that anime, it's just so vibrant, and I'm drawn to vibrant colors. I mean, at the end of the day, it really is a matter of what you're drawn to as an artist, but you know, that falls back to my main point of just understanding how do you learn best and what are the things that move you, what are the things that inspire you. I think that, you know, that downtime when we're not drawing and just setting an intention to, I guess, what would be the word? Setting an intention to have something that you enjoy that inspires you is so important. Definitely a big part of how we create as artists, to just have those recharging moments, because, you know, if you're putting out, you gotta be getting something back in, right? Like you have to have some source that's driving you, that keeps you motivated. Tending to that area of that inspiration, that area of what moves you, that area of, you know, allowing yourself to recharge and to have that light bulb moment is so important. Another thing that's played a huge part in my growth as an artist this year was realizing that I needed to give myself more time with my figure studies. Initially, I would do a couple seconds, like the 30 seconds, pretty much a little bit close to what I did in this video, but with a little bit of change, hear me out. So I would start off with 30 seconds, then I believe I moved on to either a minute or 2 minutes, and then from there, maybe like 1 5-minute pose, and then I would move to whatever drawing I was working on. And I realized that by doing this, I was fixating so much on just drawing quick, you know? I was thinking about, if I'm not thinking while I'm drawing, then that means I must be moving at my maximum, I don't know, capacity of efficient, because I'm not thinking about it, and the best drawing comes from not thinking, right? That was my approach in the beginning of just doing figure studies on the regular when I was doing it. You know, yes, there is a level of no thought, you know, you don't want to really overthink it. You don't want to get to a point where you're sitting there and you've been working on drawing and carving out this deltoid for the past 10 minutes, you know, like that's not the goal, right? But I realized that because of the pace I was working at, I was kind of just glazing over these areas that I didn't fully understand. And I wasn't really giving myself time to understand it, because I would just think more so, okay, let's get this pose, or let's carve out this muscle or this contour. But I didn't fully grasp, like, okay, how does this part of the body look when it's flexed? How does this part of the body look when it's relaxed? Or even the body is at the specific perspective, like what does that do to the form? How does it look different? Although drawing quickly with no thought can help you loosen up, I think that there needs to be a balance, of course, as well, with taking longer to draw the same thing. That's why you're seeing me draw these longer poses, because it was through doing this repetitiously that I had realized that, you know, I'm getting a better understanding of anatomy. I'm fully seeing how the torso goes into the particular body part that I'm focusing on, whether it will be like transitioning from the rib cage to the neck or the rib cage to the top of the hips. I had a habit of, I don't know, kind of like exaggerating certain areas and foreshortening other areas, and I wasn't intentionally trying to do that. It wasn't like, okay, this is my style. It was kind of just, I didn't understand that particular body part. I had to take the time to first focus on the bones underneath, so understanding the bone structure, and then understanding how the muscles on top of that are. There's another YouTube channel, I've definitely mentioned it in another art video. I think it's called the Drawing Database. Don't hold me to it. I will put it in the description box. I'll put it below for you guys as well. But, you know, that was a really great channel that helped me focus on different parts of the body and really just focus on the base structure, starting from the bones and then the muscles, to understand what areas I didn't have a full grasp of. And then once I started putting it together, I was like, okay, like I see how all these body parts work together. Definitely more aware of just looking for little areas that help me scale and proportion the body better. I feel like you can kind of see it a little bit as I'm working on these sketches, but you'll see that I will kind of compare, okay, if the hips are here, the way that the shoulders are positioned, is it slightly above? Or even just now, kind of just doing that slow line, just looking at how certain areas relate to each other, like what's straight across, or what is a little bit wider than another area. Like, it's hard to kind of speak on it if I'm not showing you a particular picture, but I hope it makes sense that I'm always paying attention to, okay, this line or crevice of the knee lines up slightly below where her shoulder would be, you know? Paying attention to little details like that have really helped me with getting a better grip of proportions. Feel free to leave in the comments tips for how you've improved this year as an artist, or just in general, like what have been tips that have helped you guys with getting a better understanding of whatever project it may be that you're working on, whether it's figure studies, whether you're working on a full-on illustration, backgrounds, whatever it may be. Go ahead and leave a tip in the comments for how you improved with that, and I would love to see kind of like what you guys have been experiencing and how you've been working through it, just to kind of just create like that beautiful area for us to kind of reflect on things and be like, okay, like this is what really works for me, or, you know, see if somebody may have said something that you yourself have not thought of and it could be helpful to you as well. For this last study, I decided I was going to incorporate grayscale shading, just like a light, medium, dark tone, simplified value. In my head, I feel like I thought that this would look like iconic or so, but I think that the reference image I was referencing, like, I liked the pose so much that I didn't really consider how the lighting was and if it was giving me much room to really push in my drawing. With that being said, I kind of just did something simple. Is this the most beautiful thing that I've ever done? No, absolutely not. It was nice to kind of just, you know, get out of that comfort zone, I guess, of just drawing regular sketches, just regular pencil sketches, and kind of push myself to try something a little bit different. So this was kind of like an experimentation of, okay, if I was to do some shading with markers, how would I do it? And you know, this is what I did. Again, maybe the reference image wasn't the best one, but you know, we out here, we doing what we gotta do. And here is the completed drawing. Thank you so much for watching. Bless up, and until next time, sending out much peace, love, and enlightenment. Bye guys.